Does your net worth define your income class, or is there something deeper running the show behind the scenes? What if your mindset, not your paycheck, is what's been keeping you at the same income level year after year? Could it be that you've stayed middle class, not because of your abilities or effort, but because it's what you believe yourself to be? Does it really matter what income class you're in? And more importantly, what would it take to move beyond where you are today and step into a life of true wealth and abundance? Let's talk about something that goes deeper than budget and bank balances, and that's your identity. Because what most people don't realize is that we don't just live in a financial class. We start to think like it. We adopt the mindset, the language, the limitations, the spending habits, and more importantly, the expectations. A few days ago, I started reading this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. He talks about what he calls the upper limit problem. This idea that each of us has a subconscious ceiling for how much success, love, and abundance we're comfortable having. And when we start to rise above that ceiling, whether it's earning more, receiving praise, or just feeling a little bit happier with our lives, something inside of us kind of panics. We sabotage it. We downplay it. We shrink away from it. I'll be honest. When I first read about the upper limit problem, I kind of thought it was a weird concept. It sounded a little too abstract until I caught myself doing exactly what the book talks about. Lately, I've been on this journey to improve my health, starting with my energy. I've been taking the supplements, going to bed earlier, eating better, waking up earlier, all the things you're supposed to do. And I'd been doing it for long enough that I actually started to feel a difference. That little flicker inside me, the part of me that I had felt was burnt out or was sluggish, it started coming back. And I was feeling alive. I was finally starting to feel good again, strong. And guess what I did? A few days into feeling that little shift, that little burn of extra energy, I stayed up until 3 in the morning working. Why? Well, my reasoning to myself was I need to get some stuff done on a video that I was working on, even though that video wasn't scheduled for several more days. The next morning I woke up after about 5 hours of sleep. I felt groggy, I was cranky, and that little flicker of energy, it was completely dimmed, just missing. And that's when I started thinking about the idea of this upper limit problem that was talked about in the book. I had hit my upper limit with my health. I wasn't used to feeling that good, so I sabotaged it without even realizing what I was doing. That same thing happens with financial class identity. If you've always identified as middle class or just getting by, then more. Whether that's more wealth, more ease, more overflow, more health, can actually feel threatening, unfamiliar, uncomfortable, not because it's bad, but because you're not used to feeling or experiencing at that level of more. And like me, you might not even realize it's happening. It might look like not signing up for that position that opened, the one that pays a lot more money than you're earning right now, because deep down you don't believe that, quote, someone like you would even be considered for the position. Or you're feeling guilty when you get together with your friends and they all start complaining about their finances, and you realize that you're earning quite a bit more than them, and now you feel like you don't have the right to complain with them. Or just automatically assuming that people like me don't drive that kind of car, live in that neighborhood, or make that kind of money. A lot of people mistake that for humility, but it's not. That's your upper limit in disguise. And here's the truth. Your identity can either anchor you to where you've always been, or it can become the bridge to where you want to go. And the first step to shifting into a new level of wealth is recognizing the inner thermostat that you've been set to and deciding consciously that you're allowed to reset it. Here's something most people don't realize. We don't just act based on what we have. We base our actions on what we believe we're allowed to have. If we were raised in a household where money was always tight, or you've always identified with the idea of being middle class, there's a good chance that you've absorbed certain beliefs that limit what you even attempt financially. Beliefs like, people like me don't own businesses. People like me have to work hard for every dollar. It's selfish to want more than what you need. Rich people are greedy, and I don't want to be like that. These beliefs aren't just ideas. They become the rules of the game that you think you're playing, and they influence everything. How much you charge if you're a business owner, what kind of risks you take, whether you negotiate, invest, ask for help, or even imagine yourself living beyond paycheck to paycheck. Let me give you a simple example. My brother and I used to go to yard sales all the time together, and we had very different approaches when it came to buying things. If I saw something I liked but didn't think it was worth the price, I'd usually just put it back. But my brother, he'd walk right up to the seller and he'd say, I'll give you $5 for this, even if it was marked at like 10 or 20 or even more. He expected to get a deal. He thought of himself as someone who could ask for what he wanted. He saw himself as a negotiator. Me? I saw myself as someone who was broke, someone who couldn't afford things, so I didn't even bother to try. And looking back, it wasn't just about money, it was about identity. We both had different inner thermostats when it came to what we believed we were allowed to ask for. We both had a mindset of limitation, but his showed up as a strategic confidence, and mine showed up as quiet resignation. It's like this invisible perimeter gets drawn around your life, and even if the door is wide open, you won't step through it if you've convinced yourself you're not supposed to. In The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks explains that we often stay stuck in patterns not because they're serving us, but because they're familiar. Our ego clings to what feels safe, even if that safety is scarcity. So we don't negotiate, we don't reach, we don't imagine something bigger because deep down it doesn't feel comfortable. And when it comes to income level or what income class you're in, that kind of thinking shows up all the time. And that's what keeps so many people anchored to their income level, not just their skills or their circumstances, but their subconscious comfort zone. We hold ourselves back, not just because of fear, but because of where our inner thermostat is set. Sometimes we've just gotten used to a certain level of struggle, a certain level of having just enough. It becomes our normal. So anything beyond that, more money, more things that make our life easier, more enjoyment in life, can actually feel uncomfortable, like we're stepping into something new and unfamiliar. But here's the truth. You're not selfish for wanting more. You're not greedy for outgrowing the limits you were taught to live inside. You're simply learning how to allow yourself to experience how it feels to have more than you've been allowed to have before. You're just outgrowing the mental box that once kept you safe, but now keeps you stuck. This isn't about chasing money. It's about giving yourself permission to dream bigger and to stop playing small and just stay comfortable. Too many people, creators, influencers, financial experts, and gurus, they all talk about being rich, earning more money, and reaching financial independence so you can finally do whatever you want to with your money. But here's the truth. Wealth isn't just about earning more. It's about learning how to hold more. And by hold, I don't just mean keeping money in a bank account. I mean expanding your inner capacity to feel safe with abundance. It's about learning how to be comfortable with having more, to feel like you deserve to have extra, to let go of the limits you've placed on yourself by always thinking that someone like me does this, or doesn't do this, or doesn't deserve this, or never gets this. It means allowing more good things like wealth, abundance, and having more than enough just flow into your life without hesitating, without sabotaging, or without pushing it away. The Big Leap explains that when we surpass our internal upper limit, we often do something consciously or unconsciously to bring ourselves back down. Just like when I stayed up super late right after I finally started feeling more energy, after I had finally started feeling good. And it's not because we want to lose what we gained. I know I didn't just sit there and think, oh, wait, I finally have more energy. This just feels too good. I'd rather stay up and work till 3 a.m. so that I can feel like crap again tomorrow because that's how I'm supposed to feel. No, That wasn't my thought process at all. In fact, I wasn't even thinking about how good I felt or how staying up late was going to affect me the next day. It was just automatic, unconscious, like my nervous system was trying to pull me back to what felt familiar, even if that familiar place was exhaustion. This problem comes because we haven't yet adjusted to feeling good. And when it comes to wealth, that shows up in all sorts of ways. You get a raise and suddenly your expenses just magically rise to match the level you raise. You finally save a little extra and then accidentally blow it on something you didn't even need. You have a breakthrough month. Everything is falling into place with your finances. But the next month, you miss a couple of days at work. You don't feel well. I just need a break. And then your paycheck drops just below where it needs to be so you're on track with your budget. And then all of last month's progress is just wiped out. These aren't just bad luck or coincidence or the universe giving you a crappy hand. They're signs that your mindset hasn't quite caught up to your new level yet. You're in the process of resetting your inner thermostat. You're starting to experience more ease, more success, more possibility. But your subconscious hasn't fully gotten the message yet. So it tries to help you by pulling you back into what feels familiar, by bringing you back into the safe zone. It's kind of like lifting weights. You might want to lift more, but your muscles have to be trained to handle that new level of strength. Wealth works the same way. You have to build the internal capacity to keep growing so you're able to handle new levels of success and abundance. The shift from poor to middle class or middle class to wealthy isn't just about income brackets. It's about identity brackets. What do you believe you are? What kind of life do you believe you're allowed to live? You don't have to wait until you hit a certain number in your bank account to start changing those beliefs. You can begin now by choosing to see abundance as safe, by allowing more to come into your life and giving yourself permission to keep it, by resetting your inner thermostat, one decision, one affirmation, one concept at a time, by recognizing when you're unconsciously doing something that holds you back or pulls you back into a level that you were at previously right after you see a big breakthrough. Once you start to recognize this pattern in your own life, when you notice those moments when you're expanding beyond your inner thermostat and catch yourself unintentionally sabotaging your growth, that's when true wealth begins to unfold, because awareness is what gives you the power to shift, to make different choices, to create space for new levels of abundance to flow into your life. And if you're ready to step into the next level of wealth, watch this video next. It'll show you exactly what can help you reach that goal with more clarity, confidence, and alignment.